University, the voice of Reichman University.
The Baseline. Stories from the court with Jonathan Rears and Nitzana Aron.
What's going on, Baseline family? We're back with another episode here in studio. This is Jonathan Rears. I'm with my co-host Nitzana Aron, and we got Max Adelman in the house. Thanks for coming in.
Man, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming. We want to introduce your journey a little bit. So first you started off at Vanderbilt, moved over to Emory, then Rhodes College, and now you're in Israel. So it's a bit of a journey.
So we usually start off from like way back when, right? So you're growing up in Memphis. When did you really get that love, that passion for basketball?
Man, I had the ball put in my hands at a pretty young age, maybe 4 or 5 years old. My mom was actually the one that taught me how to shoot a basketball and everything like that. Just kind of growing up in middle school is when I really found the love of the game. I used to play like baseball and do like BMX, and I was a real outdoorsy kid, so I used to do a lot of different things. But basketball was the one thing that always really stuck with me. I think Memphis had a big influence on my love of the game for sure, because if you're from Memphis, you know, like Memphis is a basketball town. Everybody, you know, eats and sleeps basketball. And I was blessed, obviously, to grow up in the Grizzlies grit and grind era. So those guys I looked up to a lot, just growing up and just finding my love of the game. So it's kind of like the identity of the city. So if you're in Memphis, you either play basketball or football or both. So, yeah, just growing up, that's pretty much how I found it.
You talk about your mom helping you with basketball. You know, I saw that she's a yoga teacher, right? She has her own studio.
She's not a yoga teacher. She does a lot of yoga though. Yeah.
How did that kind of influence you as well, growing up in fitness and all of that and recovery?
Yeah, you know, my mom, she was a huge influence on my life. She was a marathoner for years. Okay. So she's done maybe over 20, 30 marathons.
Damn.
So growing up, I was blessed to that's really how we traveled when I was younger. So we used to go to different we went to like France, Boston, LA, New York, just all the different cities she was running marathons at, and kind of made a trip out of it. So that was a cool way I got to kind of see the world at a young age. And then just watching her like get up 6 a.m., 7 a.m. every single day, you know, go through her routine, whether it was biking, running, working out. And so, you know, seeing your mother do that, especially as a single mother, is incredibly motivating. And I think she 100% instilled my work ethic and, you know, just how to work hard, and that if you work hard every single day, you can really do whatever you put your mind to. So, you know, talking about it and someone telling you about it is one thing, but watching someone live it every day is a whole other thing. So
that's inspiring.
No, it's incredibly inspiring. And, you know, you have your mother who basically is the top of the marathon game. She's running that type of marathons, to you getting success early on in basketball. Walk us through when you started really focusing in on basketball and when you started saying, this is something that I can really do.
Yeah, I really locked in fifth grade, middle school. I started out in the War Eagles AAU program, 5th grade. And then I transitioned to M33M, which is now Hoop City, which is Mike Miller's AAU program. So I think just playing in middle school, I went to Lausanne, playing in middle school, and then once I got into AAU was when I really was like, okay, this is something I can do. This is something I'm good at. And yeah, I kind of just dove into it. And I think basketball, you know, as a whole it's more than a game, especially to me. Like, it's just a way, it's almost like a way to express like who you are as a person, like on the court. So that's something that I always found, like whether I was having a bad day at school or going through something, or, you know, maybe not in the best mood, you know, when that 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock practice come around, it's like you can kind of push all that noise and extra whatever it is in the world out and just focus in on, you know, playing basketball.
Totally agree.
Yeah, it's like a sanctuary, my sanctuary for real.
A lot of guys say that. It's like sometimes you'll be at low points and then, you know, you just got to pick up the basketball and you're back to yourself. But we're talking about AAU. You know, when we had Carlos on, he was telling us about how Memphis AAU is big, and it's it's gritty, and if you don't hold your own, you're gonna get pushed to the side. So how did that teach you from an early age to really be strong on the court and like know your identity and like really put your foot on the floor?
Yeah, well, you probably see clips like Tony Allen and Zebo talking about like grit, grind, and all that stuff. It's really true. Like Memphis basketball is a real specific brand of basketball. Like even in high school, the scores of our high school games are 40 to 45, 45 to 50, low scoring games just because it's full court press, an emphasis on defense, toughness, being strong with the ball. And then playing in AAU, we had a lot of AAU rivals. There were like 3 main AAU teams in Memphis growing up. It was Team Penny, who was on the Nike circuit, and then Team Thad, who was on Under Armour, and then my team, M33M, that was on Adidas. So you either you play for one of those 3, and whichever one you played for was kind of like your family, your team. And I think also just growing up in Memphis, I got to give my appreciation to like the people I grew up around, and then the local legends I watched in high school. Some of those guys, like, there's just so much talent in Memphis. A lot of the guys don't make it to the league, or don't even make it to college. They stop playing in high school, but just so much talent, in Memphis. So I feel like just growing up around it's hard not to fall in love with the game.
Also, you talked so much about how Memphis has a specific hoop culture that is so impressive and so grit and grind. What was it like also growing up in the Jewish culture within Memphis?
Yeah, so I was blessed to, be a part of a great Jewish community in Memphis from a young age. Temple Israel, Memphis. Shout out Temple Israel. And the Memphis JCC. Shout out the JCC. So I played in some of those leagues when I was younger. Obviously transitioned out of it when I got to middle school and started playing middle school ball in AAU. But, the Jewish basketball community in Memphis is real tight-knit. So, there might be 1 or 2 players on each high school team and middle school team, but you guys all know each other because, there's 20, good Jewish hoopers in the city. And then, of course, Jews love basketball. So, everyone wanted to come to my games, and, having just the ultimate support from my temple community was amazing. Going to Shabbat services every Friday. They're asking me, how'd your game go? When's your next play? So
and then
it was great.
You talk about JCC.
Mm-hmm.
Later on you go and you play in Maccabi games. So
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
So my first taste of it was actually I played in the JCC Maccabi games in St. Louis. I don't remember the year, but I was real young. One of my coaches had asked me to play in it. I knew nothing about it, and so I kind of just went in blind. And we go to St. Louis, and I was just shocked. Like, I had never in my life been around so many Jewish athletes. And the Maccabi games are all different types of sports. So seeing the JCC Maccabi games, I'm going to archery, table tennis from Jews all over the South, all over the United States. And it was just eye-opening to me. And then when I was asked to play in the Maccabi games in Budapest, it was a really life-changing experience. I think in America, it's easy to kind of get your mind in a box about like what it means to be Jewish and like, or what a Jew looks like, or what a Jewish athlete looks like, or and if you know what I mean. Like, but when I went to the Maccabi games in Budapest, like I never met a Jew from Brazil. I never met a Jew from Argentina. All these different countries and all these different athletes, but you're all connected by your faith. So, being around, tens of thousands of Jews that are all competing, playing sports, playing basketball, whatever it may be, it's like opening ceremony itself was just a mind-blowing experience. Like walking through the stadium, wearing Team USA gear, it's really the Jew. When people ask about the Maccabi games, I tell them it's the Jewish Olympics because that's really what it is. And it's just it was a beautiful, event, and I made friendships that last to this day. I still talk to all my teammates, and we won gold, so I had to we had to put that in there. But it was amazing.
It also had to be so validating to make the Team USA team. You know, I played in the Maccabi games like in the U.S., and we knew there were levels to this. You know, we knew, okay, I played for Team Pittsburgh. I didn't play for Team USA, but then you get invited to go play for Team USA. How was that, and what was that honor like in terms of knowing, wow, you know, I'm good at this. I'm great at this. They want me to come represent the country, not just the city.
Yeah, it was. I don't think it really hit me until I got to Budapest and got around my teammates and, you know, put our Team USA gear on. And I was, you know, as I was walking through the opening ceremonies, I was thinking to myself, like, I really am representing the United States. You know, it might not be in the Tokyo Olympics or whatnot, but, you know, it's something to be proud of. Not only to be Jewish, but to be from the United States. So yeah, it was really powerful. Just meeting people from other countries and seeing how, you know, nationalistic and how, you know, how much pride they have for their countries as well. It was, yeah, something that'll stick with me forever.
Do you think that going to Maccabi in Budapest and having that film and being on that stage kind of helped your college process, getting that offer from Vanderbilt ultimately, and then going there?
Yeah, it was. So I went when I played in the Maccabi games. It was right during, I think it was my junior year, like my junior summer. So I went directly from AAU, and I flew to New York because we had training camp in New York. So I flew straight from the AAU tournament to New York. We had training camp, and then I got on a plane and went to Budapest. So even throughout the training camp and in Budapest, I had, you know, a lot of coaches texting me.
Are there college coaches at the Maccabi games?
They don't go to the games.
Maybe
but,
film.
Yeah, like one of my assistant coaches coached at Florida last year. But yeah, just getting the film from there was also a big deal. But I think it definitely helped my college process. Just knowing, I mean, it gives you confidence knowing you can play at an international level, and
right.
you know, knowing you play against some of the best Jewish basketball players from other countries and win the gold. But I think it also opened my eyes. That was the first time I really thought about, like, because some of the guys on the older team, I played 18 and under. So some of the guys on the open team were professional basketball players here in Israel. I don't know all their names off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But that was the first time I had ever met someone who played pro in Israel. So just kind of hearing about their experiences, like, wow, like, you know, this is something I never thought about playing overseas basketball. Obviously, growing up as a kid, you want to make the league, you want to make the NBA. But yeah, that was the first kind of introduction to, wow, like, these guys really made a career out of this. And that's something, you know, that I feel like I'm taking the first step on my path to do. So that was really what I walked away from the Maccabi games with.
And you're in your senior year of high school, right? We had the Maccabi games, and now you got a big senior season in high school, and then phones ring in, and then you end up deciding to go to Vanderbilt. What kind of sparked that decision?
Well, it was I will say it was a real unique. The whole process was really unique because my senior season ended. Unfortunately, we lost in the state semifinals for the second straight year. I went to my last 2 years I spent at the Hun School of Princeton, which is a prep school in New Jersey. So shout out the Hun School. I wish I could have got a ring there, but it always sticks with me. But right after our season ended in, I think, March, and we had spring break right after. It was a boarding school, so after the season, I go home for spring break, and then that's when COVID hits. So I'm at home for spring break, and they're like, okay, the school year's over, you're not coming back. So I didn't even get to go back for my graduation. So then kind of going through that, like during that whole time period, I knew Vanderbilt was number one on my list, but I really wanted to go to an Ivy League school. So I had been recruited by a bunch of the Ivy Leagues because that was like why I went to boarding school. You know, they had a good reputation for getting kids to the Ivy League. That was always, you know, my dream at that point. But I couldn't even take a visit to where I wanted to go just because of COVID. And so, you know, I was blessed that Vanderbilt was right down the road. It's a Nashville 3-hour drive from Memphis. And yeah, I was just blessed with the opportunity there. And everything kind of worked out. Because a lot of those, and then the Ivy League ended up not even playing that next season. I don't know if you remember, but that COVID season, the SEC played, but the Ivy League shut down all their games. So if I was a freshman at the Ivy League, I wouldn't have even gone to school my entire freshman year. So yeah, it was a blessing. I'm grateful everything worked out.
I think it's really clear just how much you put an emphasis on academics. Because, so many kids growing up playing ball would say, SEC school, I'm jumping at that no matter what. I don't need Ivy. And you were prioritizing the chance at an Ivy. Where did that come from?
Well, my mother's a lawyer.
Yep.
So I've always kind of liked school. I know it might sound a little nerdy, but I've always enjoyed school. I like going to class and learning things and talking in class. And then obviously, the real answer is, education will stick with you forever. Obviously, the ball will stop bouncing at a certain point, but education is something you're always going to have. And I think nowadays, we're in the NIL era now, so education, from what I've seen and heard, is almost out the window. But it's more so just about like being in college and focusing on academics kind of gives you a good baseline for how to live your life. Like, if you really can just lock in on just a couple of subjects and a couple of classes, you can really learn a lot of things. Like, these teachers, they know what they're talking about. So I hope kids nowadays, I know everyone's getting the NIL and one and done to the league and everything like that. I hope kids nowadays can still go to class, because I really enjoy my class. I keep in touch with some of my teachers. But yeah, just my mother definitely instilled, got to get your homework done before you can do anything, else.
And you play in the SEC, and, you guys played against Auburn as well, Lior Berman. How is that kind of seeing another fellow Jewish American in the SEC? Yeah,
Lior is my guy, man. He's doing this thing out here in Israel. Shout out Lior. Man, it was super cool. Obviously, Lior being at Auburn, and of course Bruce Pearl being the coach.
Right.
It was always fun when we played them. We used to talk, before the games and after the games. It was a fun experience. And actually, me and him were supposed to play together on the 16 and under Maccabi games way back, I don't know, maybe 2016, 2017. I had hurt my knee, so I ended up not going. But that's where we met. So we met at tryouts in Philadelphia for the 16 and under Maccabi game. So I had known him for a long time, and I always kept in touch with Lior just because I kind of felt we were on similar paths, both going to SEC schools, and yeah, so it was a great experience, definitely seeing him.
So what was it like playing in the SEC? That is such a massive step up. Nowadays people would say the SEC is the number one conference for basketball in the country. What was that experience like, going to play at really the highest level someone can play?
Yeah, the SEC, if I had to describe it with one phrase, it's a grown man league. It was a very big step up. I remember my first couple of practices at Vanderbilt. You think you're going in, you think you're prepared conditioning wise and strength wise. I'm a big guy, so I thought I was like, okay, I'm gonna go in. Might be ahead of some of the other freshmen. No, you go in as a freshman in the SEC practice, and it is straight. It's everyone's huge, number one. Like, if there's no layups, number two, because they got 7-footers at the rim. And it's just a really physical league, and it's a ton of talent. And I think what differentiates the SEC from other leagues is the fan bases and like the culture. Like, every team has a culture, and like the fan bases and the arenas and even the cities around it kind of embrace that culture. So it's like, you go into Alabama or you go into Arkansas or Kentucky, man, you are there 2 hours before getting your shoot on in, the entire student section is filled. They know personal details about you. They're saying things I can't say on this podcast to you. So yeah, it's like a religion down there. And in the South, whether it's football or basketball, it's like a religion. So people take it really seriously.
What was the big cultural difference between Memphis to Vandy?
I would say the cultural difference was more in the cities. Nashville is obviously a predominantly white city and very country. So I had never really been around like country music and that type of culture. Coming from Memphis, it's Moneybagg Yo, Dolph, 3-6 Mafia, Yo Gotti. Like, those are the guys I grew up listening to. And you get down to you get down to Nashville and it's Jason Aldean and Taylor Swift. So I think the city was more the cultural difference in terms of, I mean, people from Memphis say, look, you're either from Tennessee or you're from Memphis. So we're in our own little bubble down there. So, but I like Nashville. I enjoyed it. It was just it was like night and day from Memphis, though, for sure.
So talking about your mom's a lawyer, but you're also in Memphis. So, sometimes you can fall to peer pressure. I don't know how academically strong the rest of your classmates were, but you go to boarding school, right? Just to kind of stay in that academic mindset. And then I see in SEC, you in the first year at Vanderbilt, you had SEC academic honor roll and first year SEC honor roll. So again, going from boarding school to Vandy, didn't do the Ivy League route. Still, that first year at Vandy, how important was the academics for you?
Yeah, I mean, the academics were always important. I mean, number one, they check your class. So for everyone listening, they will go and check. They have people there who will go and see if you were in class or not. And if you're not in class, we're gonna run.
I wonder if it's still like that with NIL.
Yeah, I don't know. These guys are
might have changed it up.
These guys are making full salaries, so
Yeah.
I don't know how much they're checking the class now. But yeah, and also going to college, you don't want to have any you don't want to have to worry about anything but basketball. So if you take care of what you need to do in the classroom, take care of what you need to do off the court, you can really just focus on, getting better at basketball. So that was really my motivation.
So we see when you get to Vanderbilt, you have some limited playing time. And that can really take a toll on someone's mental, especially when they've been playing their whole life, or someone like you who's gone to schools and had success. You playing in the Maccabi games, and in high school. What was it like having to have that limited playing time at Vanderbilt?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely the first time in my career where I was not playing. And so it was hard at first. Obviously, every player feels like they can get on the court and make a difference. But the reality is in the SEC, they play, you play 7-8 guys, and those are the guys that play for the whole year. But one thing I will say is, even though I wasn't playing in the games, it still felt, I felt like I gained so much experience just from the practices and from our, inter squad scrimmages, and even playing on the scout team. That was one thing that was big for me, my freshman and sophomore year. And for anyone listening that isn't really getting the play time that you want in college, ask to be on the scout team, because I asked to be on the scout team just to help players in practice. And, in the SEC, we're playing NBA draft picks every single night. So before practice, some of the other the GAs and the managers used to come to me and be like, okay, today you're Cam Thomas. Or the next day it's like, okay, today you're Sharif Cooper. So, getting that experience was great. And, you're still playing and practicing against guys like, Scottie Pippen Jr., who's in the NBA, Jordan Wright, who plays overseas, guys like that, every single day. So I felt like even though I wasn't playing, that was the 2 years I spent there were probably the most improvement I have seen in my game and my body throughout my whole career. So if I had to go back, I wouldn't change my journey at all, because I really value those 2 years for sure.
So when they tell you that tonight you're Cam Thomas, are you just jacking up shots?
Literally.
Step backs?
No, literally. Step back threes, everything. Yeah, I mean, they have, the SEC is so well scouted, but, when it comes down to it, you can scout all day and go through film all day. There are just some players that we played that were just,
you can't mirror him.
You can't, I remember we played in the SEC tournament. We played Trey Mann, who's now with the Hornets.
It's modern day AI.
Modern day AI. Well, he looked like AI back then at Florida. So, but yeah, just guys like that. You can scout them all you want, but it's just at the end of the day, you just got to roll the ball out and play. So
yeah, so it's funny actually. Last week's episode with Jordan Nicholas, he played in South Bay also with Scottie Pippen, and he talked about Scottie. Yeah, he had his dad was a legend, right? but just the way Scotty carries himself, he's a pro, So that was how he felt with him at South Bay. You got to experience him also at Vanderbilt. So what was it like kind of seeing the way he carried himself in practice and games?
Yeah, so Scotty, one of my good friends, he was actually my roommate at Vanderbilt, so we got to be pretty close. And I'll say one thing about him is he was always just a professional in every sense of the word. No partying, no going out, no extracurriculars. Just really focused on the game and focused on basketball. Obviously something he gets from his dad, but one thing I always respected about him, and still respect about him to this day is, he's his own player, and his game style and how he plays the game and how he approaches the game is something that he molded and created himself. So that was something I always respected about him, because I think you see a lot of nepotism and things of that nature in the NBA nowadays. And I would say he's one player for sure that is not a product of that. Went undrafted, got a chance with the Lakers G League. Didn't really get the opportunity with the Lakers that I think he should have, and now he's back in Memphis, in my hometown, tearing it up.
Killing it.
Yeah.
For sure. Like you say, there might be some nepotism in the NBA, but
yeah, definitely.
with Scotty, he really paved his own way, and like we saw, like he had to go and work for his own,
Yeah.
Not the biggest dude, but like first of all, his passing abilities is great. He's quick on the floor, and he paved the way, and we saw in Memphis, he's killing it. But back to you, after Vanderbilt, you decide, could play on the scout team, you could get a lot of learning from that, but at the end of the day, you do want to get some time on the court. So you move over to D3 and you play at Emory. So what kind of sparked that decision, and like, how was that season?
Yeah, obviously, it came time for me to, get on the court and do my thing. So I transferred to Emory University I played there for one season, and I really enjoyed my experience. Going from D1 to D3 was definitely an adjustment, in terms of the resources, number one. But one thing I really appreciate about Emory and, really all D3 hoopers out there is, they really want to be there. Because there's no full athletic scholarships in Division III, so everyone who's on the team wants to be there, and so those guys are some down to earth hoopers, and I enjoy my experience there as well.
You saw that. I mean, Emory is also an academic powerhouse, so that had to play into the move a little bit, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's incredible. Also, and then what do you think you brought to the team coming from such a high level to D3?
I think learning. I mean, at Vanderbilt, I was coached by Jerry Stackhouse, NBA legend.
Sick.
And now, pretty cool. And now he's assistant on the Warriors. And so he taught us. And so he actually came from the Toronto G League team, the 905 Raptors. So he won a G League championship with the 905 Raptors. Guys that were on their team, Van Fleet, Siakam. So he takes credit, and he did develop a lot of those guys from the G to NBA champions that they are today.
Oh, yeah.
So all the systems we ran at Vanderbilt were NBA. So I would be watching the game after practice. I'll be watching the NBA game, and I'm like, okay, there's 23. There's our plays. Like, there's everything we just did in practice right there in the pistol action. Like, everything was NBA. So I think bringing that experience to Emory was cool, because a lot of those guys, I don't think any of those guys played at the Division I level before they got to Emory. So I think just bringing the experience, especially to the young kids, the young, freshmen, because we had a lot of good freshmen there when I got there. Just my experience playing at Vanderbilt, and then just obviously leadership, and just some of the intangibles I think really helped them.
And you go over to Rhodes College after that. So why move there?
Well, I got the opportunity at Rhodes to finish out and play 2 years there. And what sparked that move was really just I've always wanted to play in my hometown in Memphis, right? I wanted to go to the University of Memphis. I wanted to, play in Memphis. I think growing up there, it's every kid's dream is to play in the city. So, and obviously I took advantage of the transfer portal. And when I had the opportunity from Rhodes, they told me, Coach Goodson, shout out Coach Goodson, because, one of my favorite coaches, when they told me I had the opportunity to come in there and really shift their culture, that was something that kind of jumped out to me, because Emory has a really deep culture. I don't know if you know a lot about them, but they make the tournament every year. They have a very good history. Like, they're a very established program. So when I got the call from Rhodes, I just thought to myself, like, okay, this is kind of an up and coming program where I can kind of leave my mark on it and maybe shift the tide a little bit and kind of earn some respect from not only the Memphis basketball community, but also like the Rhodes College community, because it's another, academic powerhouse, liberal arts school. So their focus is more on academics. So, being able to go there for 2 years and kind of just earn some respect from the surrounding Memphis community, like, okay, Rhodes is an option for Memphis hoopers to go to and play, because they have high level court, high level facilities, high level basketball. We played a pretty deep schedule. We went to Vegas. We're taking flights different places, which is rare for Division III.
Yeah.
So yeah, when the coach kind of presented to me that way, that I could kind of be a catalyst for a culture change, that was just something. And then obviously just being home and playing in front of my family and friends, like, it was hard to pass up.
No, I mean, you're putting it on the table, and it makes sense. But after that, you kind of gotta think about your future, right? And you're really into the academics. We keep saying that, but at what point are you like, all right, I'm gonna do the pro career, or you're like, all right, I gotta think about my future, and like, am I gonna start a business? Am I gonna go into that world? And then we were talking about it, you work out with Coach Bandy in the summer. So when are you like...
Yeah, shout out the lab, man.
Yeah, when are you like, all right, I got to get in the lab. I'm going to go and chase this pro basketball career. And did you have thoughts on going like the business route?
Well, I always wanted to continue playing basketball. And I think in life, if you can continue doing something you love, and something you have a passion for, and you make that your focal point and your goal, I think the rest of everything else tends to kind of work out around it. So I always knew in the back of my head that I wanted to play professional basketball, and I wanted to continue playing, and I still do, and until I can't play anymore, just because it's what I love to do. And I think making a profession out of it and getting paid to play basketball is just the ultimate feeling for me. So going back to Coach Bandy, so I started working out with him, I think 2-3 years ago in the summertime, and that was also he was a big reason why I am here today, not only in Israel playing basketball, but even continuing on my basketball career, because the guys that we have in that gym and that I was working out with all play overseas. So I was kind of like the youngin in the group, being like a junior or sophomore, junior in college. But yeah, just being around those guys like Sonny Weems, who's a China legend, Carlos, who plays in Italy, Nick King, who if you know anything about Memphis basketball, you know about Nick King. So he played for an NBA for a while. Now he's in Taiwan. People from my girl Brandy, who plays in France. Just being around those people playing overseas and hearing their experiences, it's like, wow, like, being able to go away for 9 months and make a living and then come back here and all work out together. It was just a family experience being in the gym. And so it was kind of inevitable for me to kind of continue on the path.
And you said once you leave that gym, you know that you got a good workout in.
Man, if anyone listening, if you want to get your tail kicked and get a real good work, you can go to Coach Bandy's gym for sure. West Memphis, Arkansas, for sure.
So what made you decide that I want to end up in Israel? We see so many people talk about the different opportunities where they jump around to, whether it's Japan, South Korea, name a country. There's a league.
Yeah.
What brought you over to Israel?
Man, it's a great question. I think Judaism obviously was the main driving factor for me. I think playing overseas, when I'm trying to think about where to go play, because I looked at other places, had some, kind of opportunities in a couple other countries, but Israel really made sense for me because I always thought in the back of my head, and talking to some people here, that playing here just means more than just going to a random country, playing for 9 months, going home, and then doing it again. Coming here to Israel, like, I have family here I've never met before. I have family in Haifa and Jerusalem who, it's on my itinerary to meet them, of course. But, I wanted to play here because I really respect the culture, and I really respect the family-oriented culture and just the culture of Israel. Even from the outside looking in, I had a real deep respect for the culture here. So that was another driving force.
Well, had you ever been to Israel before coming here for basketball?
Yeah, so I came to Israel maybe a long time ago, before my bar mitzvah. So maybe, I'm getting old, so I don't want to, maybe like 10 or 11 years ago. So I hadn't been back. So it was like, coming here this time was, like coming to a foreign country for sure.
Yeah. So we're going to talk more a little bit about Israel, but let's talk about the logistical matter. You come and you sign with Beersheva, Apollo Beersheva, but they're loaning you out to their third division team.
Yeah, Maccabi Dimona.
So, one, why are they doing that? And then two, are there other guys doing that with you on that team?
Yeah, so I signed a 2-year deal with Beersheva. And so I did the training camp with the first team, and then they loaned me to Maccabi Dimona, which was always the plan with my agent and everything. My roommate who I'm staying with is doing the same thing, Max Adelman, shout out him. And so, yeah, it's kind of like a way to just allow me to develop and play more. I wouldn't, really get the opportunity on the court on the first team, but playing with Maccabi Dimona is going to give me, not only give me a season to get my feet wet in Israel and get a feel for the game. And obviously it's a whole different game over here compared to America, especially college basketball.
Yeah.
But yeah, just get my feet wet, number one, and have a huge role on the team, and potentially move them up from the third division to the second division, which is one of our team goals, which is would be amazing.
We see a trend throughout your story of you going and wanting to leave an impact on a team. So wanting to move Maccabi Dimona up is really, it's really admirable and a great thing that you do. You said you talked about how there is differences in the game. What are some of the differences between SEC game, D3 game, and now pro game here?
I would compare the professional Israel game. It's similar to SEC, but I would say it's even more physical in different ways. You're not, first off, as an American here, you're not going to get the foul calls that you want. In the NBA now, there's a lot of foul baiting, a lot of touch fouls and things like that. You're not going to get those in Israel. It's a real aggressive play style, and it's just very team oriented and fast paced. Is the main difference. Even my first practices in Beersheva, they put an importance on the most important part of the practice is the team aspect. It's all 5-on-0 stuff. It's all system-oriented stuff. In America, you spend half the practice doing player development on your individual skills, ball handling, shooting, things like that. Practices over here, you still do that, but it's all within the team. So I think that's like the main difference. That's when you look at some of these Israeli scores, the box scores are 10-12, 10-8-8, because the players aren't as concerned about scoring 20 points. They're more concerned about just scoring within the system and like getting the win, if that makes sense. Like it's very team oriented.
Right.
So,
and then we talked about, you said that you came before your bar mitzvah, but now it's a completely different country, different circumstances and everything. You get off that plane now to come play here professionally. First you get on the plane in Memphis and you start your whole journey, right? But then it doesn't really hit until you get here, and now you're like, all right, I'm starting this professional overseas career. I'm solo. I'm doing this now. What was that first feeling like getting off that plane?
Obviously you're gonna be a little nervous, going out over the seas by yourself. But so I made Aliyah. So as soon as I got off the plane, before I even got to security, they had an Aliyah officer meet me straight off the plane and walk me through straight to the office, where I got my Israeli ID and Israeli passport and all my documents and everything. So I kind of felt like a little VIP getting off the plane and everything, getting walked through security. But it's definitely interesting feeling, especially not speaking the same language or being able to, I can't read Hebrew yet, being able to read the signs and speak the language. You kind of feel like a fish out of water. But I will say, and not to be cliche, as soon as like day 2 and day 3, meeting my team, being in Beersheba, meeting some people, it's kind of just like business as usual. You're going to practice, you're going home, you're going out to eat with the guys. Like, sure, I'm in Israel, but nothing has really changed in terms of my, outside of not going to class and not having homework, nothing has changed too much in my day-to-day. And then also being in Israel, everyone has been real nice, real welcoming. I think most people speak some form of broken English, so for the most part. So it just feels like, and I know people say this when they come here, but it truly does feel like home when you get here as a Jew. Even Rosh Hashanah, for example, one of my teammates invited me to his house, and so in Neria, and so being able to spend Rosh Hashanah, and I've known this guy for maybe, shout out Edo, I've known him for maybe a week or two. So we're just getting our first practice, and he's like, man, come to my house. We'll, come for a couple of days. We'll have fun. And just seeing the hospitality from his family and extended family that I've never met was just like, wow. And they spent the whole holiday just outside on the couches, just talking to each other, listening to music. And it was just a powerful experience. Like, wow, like this is really what it's all about.
We talk a lot to a lot of different players about how when you go play overseas in a country, you're not just playing overseas, you're living overseas. So what are some of the things that you're kind of doing here to make this a comfortable space for you? What are some of your favorite things that you've been up to?
Well, first off, if you think about it this way, I've been in school my whole life. So this is the first year where I have not had school. So it was a little eye-opening, like you go to practice and, the most hours you'll spend in the gym every day is 3. And you get home and you kind of sit there and think to yourself, like, okay, I have nothing to do for the next 21 hours till the next practice. So you got to fill your time. I've been cooking. I think cooking is a lot of fun. You can't eat out every meal. So spending time in the kitchen, cooking, and then obviously trying new restaurants. And then the beach, obviously the Tel Aviv beach. We went to Hilton Beach, which was beautiful. And the good thing about Israel is wherever you are in Israel, the beach is like an hour away. So, just kind of trying new things. I'm open to suggestions for sure.
We got you.
Yeah. But yeah, and then I think the biggest hardship I would say is the time difference.
Right.
It's 8 hours earlier in Memphis, so I don't really get to talk to my friends or anything until 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night. So you're kind of, in a good way, you're forced to live here, and you're forced to be here now because you're spending 70% of your day without contact of, your people back home. So you have to, you can't just, you have to interact with people and go out and take walks. And
yeah, so I'll ask you, like, you've been here for a couple months now. What have you really loved about Israel?
I just love, the one thing I love about Israel that I have really seen is just the family atmosphere. Like, especially on Shabbat and on Yom Kippur too, like just seeing Yom Kippur, the streets were shut down. Like, I needed to go to the I was like, oh, I'm gonna need some food. I'm like, I go outside. They're literally blockades off. You can't drive your car. And looking outside, the streets are flooded with families, holding the hands, just walking. It's something I've never seen before in my life, growing up in America. So just seeing how, and everyone kind of just moves at their own pace and is kind of in their own world. In America, everyone's concerned about what you're doing or what their neighbor's doing or what the guy next to them is doing. And in Israel, I feel like it's just a sense of just an atmosphere you can just be yourself and kind of exist in the world the way you want to exist free of judgment, free of outside opinions. I was telling my mom the other day, I said, if you could go walk around any city in Israel for 12 hours and not be bothered by anybody. I can't say the same for in America. So I feel like that emphasis on just people living their own life and not too concerned with what others are doing. And yeah, it's been really powerful, to be honest with you.
So as we wrap up, what's some advice that you would give to a younger player coming up now?
Yeah, I would say compare the one of the phrases I guess that sticks with me is comparison is a thief of joy. And so there's always going to be a player in a position that you want to get to that you may think, oh, I could beat them one-on-one or I'm better than them. Even in the podcast world, right? You may look at a podcast with 1 million followers, like $1 million worth of game, right? And you may think, oh, I want to be, I think
we're doing our own thing.
No, I'm saying there's obviously always people to look up to, but at the same time, there's 10 podcasters who just started out who are watching Baseline thinking to themselves, wow, these guys are doing it big. I want to be just like them. So I think it's important just to stay in your own lane, focus on your own journey because everyone's journey is different. And then work hard because that's the most important thing, working hard. You got to wake up every day, you got to love it.
Well said, man. Well, your story is really inspiring, and I love how you incorporated the academics into your life, and you're doing your thing out here in Israel, and we really wish you a lot of success and good luck. But as we wrap up every episode, we do this rapid fire segment.
Oh, Lord.
So we're going to do some little shot clock. He's got the shot clock up there.
Okay, let's do it.
You could say pass. We're going to go bang, bang.
Okay.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
All right, ready? You ready for this?
Yeah, I'm locked in.
Let's go. 3, 2, 1.
Dream job growing up.
NBA.
Warm-up song.
Love Yours by J. Cole.
Night out or night in?
Night in.
Home or away games?
Away.
Favorite place you have played?
Rupp Arena.
Craziest fans you played in front
of? Auburn.
Okay, wait, lifting your cardio.
Cardio.
One food to eat for the rest of your life?
Eggs.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Eggs.
Versatility.
There you go. Well, again, I appreciate you for coming on. This is a great episode. You got your podcaster's voice, so it's good.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. You guys are doing a great job, and I'm excited to tune in to the next episodes for sure.